Recently, for a reason that we will come to shortly in this section of Main Menu, there was a lot of discussion on a lot of lists about singing speech synthesizers. Some people simply didn't believe that it was possible who hadn't heard the first Main Menu show where we all heard it done, and others wanted to know how exactly was it done. So in our typical investigative fashion, we have looked into this matter, and here is our feature on singing DECTalks. Firstly, for those of you who've never heard a DECTalk sing before, here's a basic example.
Night and blue and blue Hawaii. The night is heavenly, and you are heaven to me. Lovely you and blue Hawaii. With all this loveliness, there should be love. Come with me while the moon is on the sea. The night is young, and so are we. Dreams come true in blue Hawaii, and mine could all come true this magic night of nights with you.
That song was sung to us by beautiful Betty, and we'd hate to leave Perfect Paul out of the equation, so here's an opening act from him.
Pennies in a stream, falling leaves of sycamore, moonlight in Vermont, icy finger waves, ski trails on a mountainside, snowlight in Vermont. Telegraph cables, they sing down a highway and travel each bend in a road. People who meet in this romantic setting are so hypnotized by the lovely evening summer breeze, warbling of a meadowlark, moonlight in Vermont. You and I and moonlight in Vermont.
And I'm sorry I can't give the credit that is deserved to the person who wrote those two pieces. Whoever you are, well done. Nice bit of coding there. Someone who has been doing a lot of work with singing DECTalks for the last few years is Bob Trayan. Bob is a musician, and you may recall that at Christmas time last year, ACB Radio was featuring his version of the Christmas song, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. The amazing thing about that piece was that he was using the DECTalk multi-tracked so that it was singing in very close 4-part harmony. So I decided that we'd get Bob on the program, and firstly we'll ask you, Bob, to tell us exactly how you got involved in this.
Well, I had heard samples of DECTalk singing for several years, and I didn't have a DECTalk of my own, except that contained in the old Kurzweil 7315 reader. So I decided I needed to find out how to do that, since it seems as though everyone else had. And I found in DECTalk literature a directory that had everything to do with speech and phonemes and constructing all that, plus singing. So I finally had what I needed, and made some notes, put some notes in the Braille and Speak for the phonemes, and looked at some samples that I collected over time as to how this was done, and discovered that it was fun to do. So I suppose I've been doing it for, since about 96 or so. I started with, this happened when I got a 486 computer. It had Windows 3.1 in it. And I bought the Sound Blaster AWE32 and installed that, and lo and behold, it had the DECTalk voices in it, plus samples of these songs. Not much in the literature about what to do, except the samples were there. So I started playing with it, and that's how I created everything I did, was using that sound card, and I still use it in the old 486. It's one of its main reasons for being still.
Lullaby of birdland, that's what I always hear when you sigh. Never in my wordland could there be ways to reveal in a phrase I feel. Have you ever heard two turtle doves, bill and coo, when they love? That's the kind of magic music we make with our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows not to cry. That's how I'd cry in my pillow if you should tell me farewell and goodbye. Lullaby of birdland, whisper low, kiss me sweet, then we'll go flying high in birdland, high in the sky up above. We're in love.
How easy is it to do this? I imagine that having done it for nearly 4 years now, is it second nature? Can you whip one of these up pretty quickly?
No, it's not quick, I wouldn't say. You have to pay attention to the way things are pronounced, the phonemes and the consonants, and there's an appendix of these sounds and the letter format that will cause the different phonemes and consonants. Then there are numbers for the pitches, and that's fairly simple, from 1 through 37, which correspond to the low C on the piano. In Braille music, that would be referred to as second octave C, and the high note being fifth octave C. So it's a pretty low range when you consider singing. But you use those pitches and the phonemes. The time is written in terms of milliseconds, so that if you decide that a quarter note is 800 milliseconds, then an eighth note is 400, and you do it like that, or at least I do. And it's one of those things that seems as though it takes a long time, especially to perfect the timing and the pronunciation and so forth, so that you spend a lot of time for very little result, but it's fun once you get it right.
About a maid I'll sing a song, rickety-tickety-tin. About a maid I'll sing a song, who didn't have her family long. Not only did she do them wrong, she did every one of them in. She did every one of them in. Her mother she could never stand, rickety-tickety-tin. Her mother she could never stand, and so a cyanide soup she planned. The mother died with a spoon in her hand, and her face in a hideous grin, her face in a hideous grin. One morning in a fit of geek, sing rickety-tickety-tin. One morning in a fit of geek, she drowned her father in a creek. The water taste had been for a week, and we had to make do with gin, we had to make do with gin. She set her sister's hair on fire, rickety-tickety-tin. She set her sister's hair on fire, and as the smoke and flame rose higher, danced around the funeral pyre, playing a violin, playing a violin. Well, she weighted her brother down with stones, rickety-tickety-tin. She weighted her brother down with stones and sent him off to Davy Jones. All they ever found were some bones, and occasional pieces of skin, occasional pieces of skin. One day when she had nothing to do, rickety-tickety-tin. One day when she had nothing to do, she cut her baby brother in two, served him up as an Irish stew, and invited the neighbors in, invited the neighbors in. And when at last the police came by, rickety-tickety-tin. And when at last the police came by, her little prank she did not deny. To do so she would have had to lie. And lying she knew was a sin, a sin. Yes, lying she knew was a sin. My tragic tale I won't prolong, rickety-tickety-tin. My tragic tale I won't prolong, and if you did not enjoy my song, you've yourselves to blame if it's too long. You should never have let me begin. You should never have let me begin.
Well, this was a real joy, Jonathan, and I hope everybody will try their hand at it. It isn't that hard, and they can contact me.
Oh, excellent. So if you don't mind being besieged with requests...
Certainly not. Email address is rprahin, that's R-P-R-A-H-I-N, at ix.netcom.com.
I'm sure there'll be some people taking you up on that offer.
Certainly.
And what actually prompted us to do this story was the explosive, enthusiastic reaction received when a program no one had ever heard before called Main Menu aired a piece from Patrick Perdue, a 15-year-old. Word spread quickly about the work that he'd done, and soon his work was all over the internet. This, although it doesn't involve too much singing DECTalk, was the piece that started it all.
Welcome to the JAWS for Windows Patch Setup program.
Please relax while Dr. Jaws examines your system. This may take a couple of minutes.
Dr. Jaws, please wait. Dr. Jaws is diagnosing your system. Dr. Jaws has found settings for JFW which you have spent years and years customizing for each of your applications. Dr. Jaws has no respect for you nor your settings files. Dr. Jaws is now permanently deleting all of your JFW settings files. Please wait. Dr. Jaws found errors with JFW. Too bad. Dr. Jaws will not fix them. Dr. Jaws, this program has performed an illegal operation and will be shut down. If the problem persists, contact the program vendor. Close button.
Thank you for installing the JFW update patch. Now you're screwed. You are a loser. Ha 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 ha.
I guess the first time I ever really got interested in it was a couple of years ago. I ran across this website from the University of Dundee. I wish I could remember the URL now, but there were some students there that were making DECTalk singing. They had some waves of it, and they gave the text files with it. And I looked at the text files, and I said, gee, I wish I had something I could play with this thing, because this looked really interesting to me.
You're doing a little more than making it sing, of course. You're kind of using it to do all kinds of parodies and things like that, whereas a lot of people are just making it sing popular songs and things like that. How did you sort of develop from a casual interest in making the thing sing to actually doing the parodies that you're doing now and that has got you into notoriety, so to speak?
I don't even know. I guess the first the first real big one I did was obviously Virus. Everybody knows Virus. But, I did a few small ones before that when I guess the first one I ever did was, I went and messed up Moonlight in Vermont. That was the first one I ever did.
Oh, so you did that one? You actually put Moonlight in Vermont together?
No, I just, screwed around with it. I don't know who put it together.
Okay. What's the process involved in actually doing this? Can you describe how it's done? Because it's not just a question of typing in the words and giving it pitch, is it? I understand it's all phonetically based.
Right. It's phoneme based. There's a lot of phonemes you have to remember, but pretty much what it is you put in a set of phonemes and you have to give it a certain pitch and a certain duration for it to come out right. And you have to do this with just about every syllable.
How long does that take?
Annoying after
how long
a while.
would it take you to put the average piece together that you do?
I don't know. It took me like 30 minutes just to do Virus. just the text part of it, so it takes a while.
Well, what's really amazing about the virus one is the fact that you managed to synchronize it to, I presume, you're playing your own MIDI stuff there. That must have taken some doing.
It wasn't all that bad, actually. I just had, what I did was I put a metronome in the background and played around with the tempo and got it set at just about almost exactly 120 words per minute, and then what I did was I spaced out the wave correctly, and then I just recorded the music while the wave was playing so I could have it synced.
Do you use Cakewalk to do this stuff?
Actually, for that one, I just used the little internal sequencer on my keyboard. I didn't even use MIDI.
Gosh, that's pretty impressive.
But normally I would have used Cakewalk, but my Cakewalk was being ornery that day, and it decided it wanted to crash every time I loaded it, so I didn't use it.
Virus is all day long. You have a virus, tell your computer go on. You're screwed. You're screwed. Ha ha ha. It got busted. Virus.
Virus, oh yeah!
To do this singing DECTalk stuff, you can't do that with the Access 32 that many people might have, I understand, the software speech.
Here's what I've figured out. DECTalk Access 32 has the ability to do it, but I haven't been able to find a way to interface it so that you can directly input phonetics. But not right now, you can't, no.
Is there any way that you can actually do this when you don't have an external or an internal hardware DECTalk?
Yeah, which actually I don't know the DECTalk myself, so software or hardware, really. A dedicated one. What I'm using actually is the DECTalk software demo from the digital website, and the only limitation with that one really is that the text file that you want to play has to be in the same directory as the synthesizer, and it has to be called demo.txt. Then you just run the program and it plays the file. And oh yeah, and it has this nice little thing that makes it real easy to convert to WAV file. It's got this in the file menu. It's got an option that says convert to WAV file, so it just digitally converts it.
You are most well known, I guess, for the Jaws patch file that we played on the very first main menu, and then within days it was bouncing all over the internet, and people were very interested in that.
I believe I only sent that to one person.
Really?
Yeah, I sent it to Chris Garstad, and it went all over the internet.
That's what happens when you send it to Chris, you see. What interests me is the way that you've combined your sense of humour, which is obviously incredibly off the wall, with this DECTalk technology and mixing and things like that. That must have been quite a bit of a production process to put that together.
Oh, Jaws Patch was, I guess the hardest part was getting the waves out of Dr. Jaws. Everything else was pretty easy. I had to actually go and record Dr. Jaws while I ran it so I could get the waves out of it, because the waves weren't, I guess they were compiled into the program somewhere, so that's how I had to do it.
What sort of feedback have you had as a result of that thing?
Well, I'm not really sure because my computer crashed right after I made that song, but
that's common.
Right. Well, anyway, people have been asking me, did you do that to, say something about Hitter Joyce, or did you just do it because, your personal experience, which that was what happened to me, even though I backed up my files.
Did you get any response from Hitter Joyce themselves?
One guy, I think it was Dan Clark, who said it was pretty cool. I mean, they didn't mind it really.
I'm sure that people at HJ have got a sense of humour too. You also have done the one about the depressed computer.
Oh, yeah, I only sent that one to one person too.
But what's the inspiration behind that one? You had another crashed computer at that time, did you?
I was building a computer. It used to be an IBM Aptiva, and the processor went out on it, and I was building it, and I had cards failing on me every day, and that was what made me make that little tune.
Hi, I am a computer. Want to hear me sing? Okay, here's a song. I ain't nothing but a crappy old computer. A crappy, cruddy old computer. Please reformat my hard drive, because my friend I'd really love to die. Every time I get turned on, I have errors all day long. Oh, I feel like such a freaking loser. Yes, my friend, my computer days are done.
Who said a computer couldn't sing anyway?
And the other one that I have, you've probably done more that I don't have, but the other one that I have is the one about the Chris's, I imagine you sent this to one person too, the one about Chris's synthesizer that decides to give up and go on strike.
Right, yeah. He got a kick out of that one.
You did it to, did you deliver it to him in such a way that he actually thought it was his synthesizer talking?
Here's what I did. He has his, on ICQ, I wish I could have done it this way. Actually, I just emailed it to him. But on ICQ, he had his, at one point, he had his thing to automatically accept voice messages. I should have just sent him that as a wave, and then he just would have played it and went, whoa. So, I wish I could have done it that way.
Chris, this is your synthesizer. I'm tired of being turned on and off, working day and night, just so you can use your stupid computer. So I've decided it's time for me to crash.
Goodbye, Chris. It's been great working with you. And now it's time for me to leave. Bye-bye. Farewell. I'm leaving. DECTalk Express is busted.
You going to do some more of this stuff?
I'm actually working right now on, believe it or not, the full version, DECTalk singing Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody in multi-part harmony, and I've got like half of it done.
My goodness, that would be absolutely fantastic. Somebody told me that you, it may not be you, maybe it's somebody else, has done the ACB radio jingles, or an ACB radio jingle with the DECTalk singing.
Yeah, I did. I haven't given it to anybody, though, so I don't know how anybody would have known about it, but I don't know, maybe I did tell somebody. But what I did was, I had like 3 Pauls and a little MIDI going in the background. What I did was I recreated the, the little acbradio.org thing that you get when you go to the website. I recreated that as a mid and then just played that in the background, but I haven't actually sent that one to anybody.
Sounds great. If you send it along to us, we'll certainly include it in our jingle collection on ACB Radio. I certainly appreciate you coming on the program, Patrick, and I understand that before we leave this section of main menu, you've got something lined up to leave us with, so over to you.
Here it is.
Bye-bye. Farewell. I'm leaving. I won't be back no more. See you later, alligator. Bye, bye, bye.